And finally, last but not least, the man who will bring it all together tonight, we have Robin Hanson of Consensus Point and economist at George Mason University.
So there's a lot of different kinds of collective intelligence. It's this huge potential area to explore. We've seen a number of different possibilities here. Let me try to frame these in two dimensions. One dimension is that sometimes the things people are contributing to some collective effort are what we call verifiable. There are pieces that it's not in dispute that the piece is right. It's just a matter of when the piece should show up where and who should see it. And for those, it's relatively objective and non-controversial, what should be in the system and whether it's valid. It still might be sensitive and people might not want it to be there. Maybe they want to shut it up, but at least the things themselves are able to be collected. But for other kinds of topics, the things people contribute aren't verifiable. They aren't things that you can just check and see whether it's right. It might be based on lots of things they know, and it might be true, but you can't just look at it and see if it's true. You have to have some other way to decide whether to believe it. But if nobody really cares, often you can trust sort of goodwill and collegiality for have people contribute their subjective evaluations of things that are non-controversial, that people all sort of accept the goodwill of you contributing. And even then you can have people collect opinions and put them in some structure that people can use. The problem is for the intersection when you have non-verifiable information, that's controversial. That people might disagree about, they might suspect or accuse somebody of saying it the wrong way. And the question is, how can we collect what we know on those sorts of topics? Because those sorts of topics tend to be the most important topics in organizations. So we've heard about people collecting things together on topics that are moderately important, but when you get close to something that's really political, i.e. important, people get shy and back off. Prediction markets are one phrase for a collection of methods that do especially well at that kind of a problem. And so as Ryan alluded, the idea is that you have a set of questions that eventually you know the answer to, but you want to know now people's best guesses about those things. And you have people make forecasts in a way that they'll be scored later about how well their forecast came out, and they'll get a reward or a lack of reward based on how well it came out. So that's the key idea, is not just a survey, it's that somehow later on we're going to score you, and if you score well, that's good. If you don't score well, that's not so good. And there's a wide variety of mechanisms that you can use to score people, but that's the key idea. So first was the key that there's an incentive that you might think carefully about what you contribute, but almost as important, or perhaps more important, is the selection of just shutting up when you don't know. An awful lot of institutions don't do that. So for example, if a reporter calls me on the phone about a wide range of topics, I might be tempted to spout, an opinion on it because I want to be quoted in the paper, because they don't have an incentive for me to shut up if I don't know. But these sort of institutions have an incentive for you to shut up if you don't know, and you get a selection effect of people contributing. Okay, so we have this technology for taking people who know things and pushing them through a process that produces estimates, produces answers to questions that are where it's not verifiable and it's controversial. The question is, what do we do with this technology? So a lot of people have thought it's cool and interesting and they want to get started. And honestly, most of those projects don't go very well for the following reasons. Somebody low in an organization thinks it's cool. They make up some questions they think might be interesting or engaging. They offer it to people in their area and say, why don't you come try? Some people come and try, but what happens? Maybe you answer the questions, maybe you don't, but nobody really cares that much. And so it dies. To make this really work, what you need is for the people who make decisions to want the information enough to ask for it and to be willing to, put up with whatever organizational disruption there will be so that they can get the answer to their question, and then be willing to pay whatever it costs to get people to participate, because it does cost something to get people to participate. So this is a technology for taking people's opinions, producing an estimate. If you aren't willing to encourage people enough to participate, then you don't get any answers. So what this means is it's central to find the customer, the person who wants to know an answer, and to get them to ask the question. I know that's hard. I know it's challenging. But honestly, if you don't have that customer's buy-in, if you don't have the person who wants the answer's buy-in, it's going to be really hard to go anywhere or do anything. The best example I think we have at the moment in the industry is Best Buy, which has been running these markets for the last 4 years, and they have senior management asking the questions, directing where the market's going, and basically allowing the entire workforce to participate. And they've got some dramatic success stories like being able to crush Circuit City by knowing that Blu-Ray was going to win over HD DVD, finding out that one of their stores wasn't going to open on time and being able to adapt to that, knowing that their Geek Squad wasn't ready and so being ready for that, things like that. We have some other success stories that aren't quite as dramatic, but honestly, we've got a lot of people who sort of try something small, something cute, something that even engages some people to participate, but it doesn't like connect to the decision makers, and in the end, that just doesn't get you that far. So the challenge, and it is a challenge, is to find customers, find people who actually want to know something that the usual organization wouldn't tell them, and to resist whatever the usual pressure is that would make the organization not tell them in order to find out the answer. You can find somebody like that, that's gold, they actually want to know the answer, this technology will give them the answer, then they can crush their competitors like Best Buy. And I look forward to the rest of the discussion.